What's going on, everybody? Thanks for joining us here on The Drop. Greg Wyshynski, Arda Ocal. We have a fantastic show for you. We have a great guest from FaZe Clan. Seabass will be joining us talking about the upcoming esports night with the New York Islanders. We were going to start the show with the New Jersey Devils, and we will still talk about them because they've been having a fantastic season. But we did have a little bit of breaking news minutes before we started recording the show. Kris Letang of the Pittsburgh Penguins will be out indefinitely after the Penguins defenseman suffered a stroke earlier this week. The team announced on Wednesday. Penguins general manager Ron Hextall said in a statement that Letang was taken to a hospital on Monday after reporting his symptoms to the team's medical staff. The Penguins said that the six-time All-Star was not experiencing any lasting effects and that this is not believed to be career-threatening.
Yeah, and I mean, this is now the second stroke for Letang. He had one back when he was 26 years old. He missed 2 months for the Penguins. The doctors discovered a tiny hole in his heart, and said it wasn't a career-threatening injury, which is obviously why he came back to play. And the Penguins obviously are saying the same thing again. But he had a 0.01% chance of suffering a stroke back when he was 26, and didn't think he needed surgery. Obviously, went on to play more. So you just hope for the best, man. Like, it was such a wonderful story to have the band back together in Pittsburgh, and trying to all push to try to win one more time before inevitably Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin and Kris Letang went into retirement. So you want to see that storybook finished, and above all else, you hope that a husband and a father is okay, as this was a very scary bit of news that came down the pike on Kris Letang.
Yeah, you echo those sentiments. Oftentimes when we do shows like this or people are talking about players on the ice, it's easy to take the human element out of it. And then hear stories like this and are reminded by the fact that these athletes are human beings. And in these moments, you think of the player and you think of their friends and family. And luckily, we got the news that it doesn't seem to be career threatening and there'll continue to be tests. And hopefully we see Kris Letang on the ice sooner than later. Of course, you do come to this show for some levity. You do come to this show for some information, maybe some of the time. So we're going to continue on with the show. We're going to give you everything that we have regularly planned to give you. And that begins with something that I noticed, Wish, that is sort of becoming a trend. Once, maybe an anomaly. Twice, maybe mimicking, copying. But 3 times in the last, I think it was 3 days, we've seen NHL players pull out the old 80s Hulkamania with the "can you hear me now," the hand to the ear, taunting the crowd to give them the jeers, the boos, maybe even the love to hate adulation. Okay, we saw Kirby Dach do it in Chicago against his former team. We saw Daniel Sprong do it against his former team, the Ducks, and then Matthew Tkachuk in the old Battle of Alberta scars against the Edmonton Oilers. And that got us thinking, Wish, maybe we should revisit some of our favorite NHL taunts.
Yeah. And these are, by the way, physical taunts. These are not verbal taunts. Anyone can do a chirp. We're talking about those grandiose play into the cheap seat moments that make these moments really stand out in the NHL. And there's certain genres of them. For example, Austin Matthews of the Toronto Maple Leafs invented one of these genres when he checked the nameplate on Scott Sabrin during a Leafs game to say, "I don't know who you are, man." And it still goes down as one of my favorite taunts of all time. Now, granted, the Senators weren't really happy with it. I remember Mark Borowicki called it disrespectful after the game.
Kind of is.
Which it is, totally. I mean, he defined it. It is very disrespectful. But at the same time, an essential taunt in the National Hockey League to be, "I am Austin Matthews. You are a nobody. I have looked on your nameplate. I still have no idea who you are." A perfect taunt.
That's like The Rock talking to a jobber in the ring and saying, "Who in the blue hell are you?" Right? That's like basically the Austin Matthews version.
Austin Matthews basically said it doesn't matter what your name is by doing that.
By the way, side note, maybe my second favorite Austin Matthews taunt is when he mimicked the referee when it was a good goal. Remember that whole referee thing where he was like, "Goal," and he did it with the referee? That picture is perfect. Another one I'd like to shine a spotlight on, This one goes back a while. Ty Domi, when he started his career with the Rangers, of course, we had all those like heavyweight tilt graphics, especially with him and Bob Probert. But him with the championship belt and the 6-shooters, like I loved the like when he was doing this at MSG, right? Like the world's most famous arena. Him with the Rangers uniform, and he's just riling up the crowd. I absolutely love that.
That's perfect. My next one is an entire genre in and of itself, which is I love when NHL players mock the opponent's celebrations. Now, specifically thinking about like when the Columbus Blue Jackets are playing the Washington Capitals and Evgeny Kuznetsov scores for the Capitals, and then he does the Flappy Bird thing. He does a Flappy Bird thing to mock the Blue Jackets. Well, they end up winning the game. And in their victory celebration after the game, they start all doing the Flappy Bird. That is a sick burn. The second one I'm thinking of is Elias Lindholm of the Calgary Flames. Used to be a member of the Carolina Hurricanes. The Carolina Hurricanes, they do their whole big, storm surge, skull thing at the end of the game. He does that leaving the ice after the Flames defeat the Hurricanes. He eventually apologized for it, but at the time, amazing.
Yeah. And
finally, like 10 years ago, Winter Classic, Rangers Flyers.
Oh, yeah.
Mike Rupp scores a goal and then does the single most blasphemous thing you can do, which is taking Jaromir Jagr down a peg by doing the Jagr salute after scoring a goal against the Flyers, with Jagr sitting on the bench, freezing his tuchus off because it's the Winter Classic. And that, friends, was an indelible taunt in the National Hockey League.
We're going to spice up the show right now with our next guest. I can't wait to speak to him. Absolutely pleased to be joined here on ESPN's The Drop with Sabastian, a.k.a. FaZe Seabass, one of the longest reigning members of FaZe Clan, of course, a juggernaut in content creation and gaming, and also a Toronto native like myself, big hockey fan, great guy. Great to be on the show, Seabass. Thanks for joining us, bud.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And I really appreciate the praise. I think a little bit more of it is deserved for yourself. But no, great to be joining you guys.
So we met, if I recall correctly, in a giant mansion in San Jose. This was like a crazy NHL activation where they went to one of the board members of the San Jose Sharks' house, Scott McNeely, who also founded the giant tech company Sun Microsystems. But this house was like I want to hear what you remember of it, because this house was like a hockey fan's absolute. This was like if a hockey fan became a billionaire, this would be the perfect house.
Well, no, I think that's literally what happened. I mean, I thought I was on a reality show. It was unbelievable. The house had an indoor gym. Like, not just like, oh, I've got a couple free weights here, maybe I can hit the bench. But like, imagine you're in middle school and it's, it's gym, and you go and you've got the whole court, you've got the nets, you've got the equipment, you've got the locker room, you've got all the tarping, you've got the netting, everything in the house. And if that wasn't enough, there's also an ice rink on the property, on the full rink. Like I'm fairly certain that I remember his name was Scott. I'm fairly certain he told us that like local high school and college teams came to practice on that rink sometimes when they didn't have availability. Full size, ready to go at any time. At any time.
If memory serves, I went there and did a story on you guys living there, and it was sort of like MTV The Real World Hockey Edition. Yeah. It was crazy. Didn't you guys have NHL players shooting pucks off the roof at some point to try to like score goals?
We did. I don't actually remember. I think it was maybe Mikko Rantanen. I can't fully remember.
I think it was Mikko Rantanen. I think you're right. I was trying to remember that
maybe
myself.
It was.
Yeah.
So to set the scene, there was like a roof that was open, and there was like a putting green down below, and we put a hockey net on the putting green, like far away, and you guys were saucing pucks off the roof into the net, which was like down the way. It was hilarious.
Oh, it was so awesome.
Yeah. So long story short, we had fun.
But like you walk around the mansion, it was like there was an entire room dedicated to all of his hockey jerseys. There must have been 1,000 in there. Like, and he had a
Sticks
rotating
too.
belt.
He had Gretzky, Hal Lemieux, you name it. Everything was signed. Everything was framed. He had it all.
Yeah.
Anyway,
He actually kept Patrick Marleau chained up in his basement too, from what I remember. He just has him
Patrick
down there.
Marleau
You
was
can go
part of the
visit him.
staff. Yeah, he was part of the
Yeah,
staff.
it was pretty,
That's how rich
dope.
this guy
It
was.
was pretty dope. Now collaboration obviously is a huge thing for FaZe Clan. You guys worked with everybody from Takashi Murakami to Disney. Now you have a new collaboration, NHL style, with the New York Islanders, including an esports night at UBS Arena on December 6th. Tell me a little bit about working with the Islanders on this.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I think at the core of it, collaboration is a fairly commonplace, just moment that happens between brands. I think in this day and age, I think it's a great way for one brand to show either their expression or the things that they'd like to express that they haven't had a lane to through another brand. And so it's almost the common language that the way brands are kind of able to interact with one another. And as you mentioned, we've had a pretty rich history of other entities and other properties and an incredibly strong IP wanting to get more into the gaming world, and being able to work with FaZe Clan as an outlet for that. And also many of them have been us pleading and begging, like, we absolutely love you, let's work together. There's a healthy mix of both, I think. And with all of them, our primary concern is just trying something that we haven't done before, or more importantly, that somebody in our industry, in the gaming side of the internet world, in our little slice of the internet, hasn't done before. Because we at FaZe Clan hold a significant stature within that community, and therefore it's always exciting to us when we're able to try and test something kind of on behalf of our whole industry at large that maybe no one else has tried or attempted or even thought of or wasn't able to do. And those are always the most fun projects for us to work on, and that's what kind of led us towards entertaining this, because I think, well, one, I'm a massive hockey fan, so that goes without saying, and obviously a Canadian, so I understand the culture and community and passion that comes within this space. But even that aside, I think we've worked with the NFL. We worked with some NBA teams, and so there's obviously not there's many options to choose from as it relates to the popular sports world for us in North America, and even we have a existing relationship with Man City in Europe. So it's not like we don't have options, but what landed us on not only hockey, but the New York Islanders, despite obviously, the objectively, I'm sure that their audience scale is maybe a little bit smaller than some other teams. They have a pretty rich history, but B, and more importantly, some people on their staff are actually incredibly creative. And are really being given kind of the tools and empowered to break outside the box. And that has allowed us to try some things that we hadn't got to do before. And ultimately, that was what really got us most excited.
So you mentioned you grew up in Toronto.
Yeah.
Obviously, we share that in common. And obviously, hockey is very important to people that live in Canada. What are some of your hockey memories?
Oh, God, I don't even know where to start. I think for some reference for the audience, I'm 28. I was born in 1994. I think my first memory as like a sentient human is walking into Maple Leaf Gardens and like seeing the lights open up in front of me as I walked in. Like, I think everybody has that, like, here's the first memory at the very back folder in my brain. And I think that's the one for me. I mean, growing up in this city, it's kind of impossible for that not to be important to you. Especially when you're, just a young kid looking to make friends at school. Sports is kind of the commonality between people that, you can always use to strike up a conversation about. And especially myself, I, wasn't financially blessed enough to be able to grow up playing hockey. It's pretty expensive. And so for me, the biggest outlet to kind of having something in common with all the kids I went to school with was like watching and paying attention to the team. And so I fell in love with it that way, because that allowed me to kind of have, something to talk about. And I think from there, it's kind of just something that never leaves you. And I think even a testament to the fact that I'm a fan of a club that hasn't won a playoff round in 20 years and yet still bleed for them. just speaks to the how deep the roots go with me in the sport.
That's hockey. You live and die with your team. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You've probably thought about this. We've definitely thought about this as somebody who's been in the social media marketing space. How does the NHL, what do they do to reach the kinds of audiences that esports reaches? They're all chasing them. Esports has certainly found a way to crack the code. What could the NHL do to try to reach those audiences?
I think this is a great start, frankly. Again, the part of the reason that we are doing this with the New York Islanders and the way that we are is because them and their team kind of opened their books towards what we wanted to do. It wasn't like, hey, FaZe Clan, here's our tried and true package of things that we're willing to do. Check the ones you like, and then we'll go execute that. It could not have been more opposite to that conversation. It was entirely collaborative, and that's reflected in the fact that they even granted us the right to alter their IP for our collaborative logo that we're using for the merchandise
that
on the
was
night.
Incredible, by the way. The fisherman with doing the FaZe logo is outstanding.
Oh, and trust me, that's what won us over. Again, like we were entertaining the conversation, and we were certainly like, we'd love to do something here. Let's figure out how that works. But then they kind of, gave us the floor of like, what do you want to do? Give us your pitches. We showed them, we mocked up the Islanders logo, showed it to them. And we were actually, frankly, blown away that got approved. And once that was something that we learned that was a common interest from both sides to jump into a place like that where we're truly collaborating as brands, and not just like sticking two logos next to each other and saying it's like a new collaboration. That's when we jumped all in, and that's when we started to build out a much bigger activation for what the night has become. And that's a great example, I think. And now we're putting a lot of things into our content stream, or at least we will be on the night of, that don't usually go there, right? Whether it's hockey or New York Islanders or anything in between. And these are the ways that ultimately we're able to start bridging that gap. I think that I'm even personally a massive fan of the NHL game itself. I play almost every day. I'm keeping up with the scene and the creators and the pros, and I know that the NHL in the past hasn't given them as much, light and shine as I'm sure we'd all like. But I know that progress has started to be made in that area. I know the NHL is putting a lot more focus into it than they had recently, and that certainly has me optimistic, because I think as well, to kind of tie up my point, something that makes gaming so popular is that it's able to, in the majority of the common games that are popular, like Call of Duty, Fortnite, Counter-Strike, whatever they may be, you have the casual content creation and you have the stars for the hardcore, enthusiasts, right? You've got the people who are just interested in logging on after work and playing their games of Warzone, and there's a world for them to engage and dig deeper, but there's also a thriving competitive scene for the people who care more about it. And I think those things go hand in hand. Mm-hmm. And it's no secret or surprise that the competitive scene has been a massive pillar of a lot of the most popular games in the world for over a decade, whether that's League of Legends, Call of Duty, Counter-Strike, you name it. And I think that that's a big part of NHL as well, whether it's this game, sports games, but even just kind of bridging the audiences, is making sure there's something for the casual and the enthusiast kind of at the same time. And that's why with our esports night with the Islanders, we're not just showing up and selling something. We're there to watch Regs and Eki, and that's actually, frankly, the thing I'm most excited about too.
Yeah. Like shout out to the fellow olds that own an NES like me, but play Fortnite. Build squads every day.
I thought you were I thought you rigged it so you're playing Fortnite on the
NES,
dude, and it's like
no build has brought me back to that game in a way I did not expect to come back to. Now I am not getting completely schooled by 11-year-olds that know how to build. Now it's just me running around shooting stuff. That's all I ever want.
But are you winning?
Of course I'm winning.
No, he's not. He's lying. Come on.
I mean,
as you didn't take a screen grab and put it on social media, did it happen?
I have many screen grabs. Okay. But as you know, it's entirely contingent on what squad you're placed in. I don't play with a squad. I get randomly placed. So if I'm with a bunch of clowns that just want to run around and drive cars, of course I'm not winning. If I'm with a tightly tuned machine,
you got to find your squad.
It's a royale.
Find your squad.
So like you mentioned, it's going to be a great blend of casual but fun content creation and top level competition.
Yes.
The best player in Europe is playing the best player in North America on December 6th in NHL 23. And these two have been the best for a very long time. So this could be considered a world championship match, so to speak.
No, it frankly is. And again, that kind of speaks to the point that I was making, is where, you know, the Islanders and their esports related efforts have this phenomenal pillar of what is the unofficial world championship of the game. And we're using a cross collaboration with the biggest brand in gaming and esports to come in and drive attention towards the night that isn't officially related to that, but is part of it. There will be more gaming fans in the building that night through our affinity with them and relationship with them that may have had no idea that there's even an NHL championship at all, or maybe they don't know about Reg Zanecki, but they were there to see us, and we're here to see Reg Zanecki, and now they're invested, now they're interested. And again, that's something that really excites me, because I personally have been wanting to see this match for like 6 months.
No kidding.
These are the two best players in the world, undisputed. Yeah. So
December 6th, FaZe Clan in collaboration with the New York Islanders esports night. Seabass will be there. A bunch of other FaZe content creators will be there as well. I'm sure it's going to be an absolute blast. Seabass, really appreciate you joining us here on The Drop. You got to come back. I'd actually come back after the night so that we can have a little bit of a post-mortem, and then we can talk more about the giant mansion that we met at. That is hockey heaven.
I would love to, anytime.
Well, you can tell by what Wish is wearing. We're doing a little bit of a wardrobe change. It's time for the search for merch, our favorite merch. This is where we put a call to all the NHL teams, anybody hockey adjacent, creating merchandise, fun collaborations, to send us your stuff. We will show it off on the show, and almost all of it will be donated or giveaways. Hold on to that thought. So first of all, I love that. That's a starter jacket, right? You got on there?
This is a starter jacket. This is honestly mine. I just wanted to kind of look the part for the search for merch. And I also knew that we were going to be talking about the Metro Division leading Devils at some point. So I told the people on Twitter that I was going to subtly honor the Devils start, 13 wins in November, new NHL record. This might not be subtle, but I did feel I needed to at least represent the NJD.
Well, it's good that you did that, because I have so much merch. I'm getting on the board so hard in this segment that you're going to be blown out of the water with what I got. Okay, first of all, shout out to Disney Plus and Adidas for sending me a replica Mighty Ducks jersey.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Got the Conway in the back.
Nice.
This was a cool drop, actually. So we got the jersey, but we also got track pants. But this is the best part, maybe right here. Mighty Ducks inspired shoes, Ultra Boosts.
No kidding.
Look at that.
Oh, and
man. Inside it says Conway in there, right?
Oh, wow.
But then this is the coolest part. I don't know if you can see this, but it says Quack on the laces. So like the attention to detail on these shoes are absolutely wonderful. So thank you, Disney Plus. Shout out to the Florida Panthers for giving me my favorite reverse retro.
That is so beautiful. I don't understand people that dog that jersey. I think that is
I love it.
Just perfect. Like, replace the sweaters, make it your permanent jersey. I think it's finally great that the team that plays in South Florida looks like they're from South Florida.
Yeah. And honestly, if you did that, nobody would mind. And give the fans these.
What is that?
The straw hat, my dude. It's a straw hat.
You look like a forest ranger in Mexico.
I look like in South Florida. If I wore this, I'd be perfectly blend in. Look, and then it has a nice trim to it.
Oh my God! Oh, wait a second! You buried the lead. Look at the liner on that thing. That's incredible.
How amazing is that? Shout out to Adeline and the entire PR team for sending me that. Now, let's get to the giveaway part. I'll probably give these away at some point as well. But this is the giveaway part. This is something I was not expecting. I didn't know this was coming at all. This is a very, very interesting drop. Okay, so this is the box.
Okay.
So it says NHL and Polar. I didn't even know what Polar was.
Sounds like a cooler. Is there beer in there?
That's initially what I thought. Yeah, I wish, right? So I'm going to open this up. And you'll see, actually, I'm going to stand up for this, because this is just a crazy, like, this is an absolutely wild drop.
What you got cooking there?
Okay.
What is that?
So this is actually, I'm going to put this on. This so much. There's so much here. This is a
what is that?
This is a Maple Leafs sleeping bag.
Oh my God, that is incredible.
This is you pop in here. There's the hood. You
Yeah.
put the hood on. You pop in. This is an entire sleeping bag. But not only that, it's also a Leafs poncho.
Wow.
A giant poncho, people.
That's incredible.
So
I can't believe you raided a young John Tavares' closet to find those two items.
That's
That's
right.
incredible.
Shout out to AKA Pajama Boy for this giveaway. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to give this away.
All right.
We are going to find a pause for a second. How are we giving this away?
I don't know. You didn't figure this out.
We didn't figure this out. Fitch, how should we give this away? Are we okay. All right, we're going to give this away. Both of them, by the way, the poncho and the sleeping bag. If you want to win this, all you got to do is go to Twitter, tag me at ARDA, at Arda, at Wyshynski, tag both of us on Twitter. What is the line? What do they need to tweet us, Greg, in order to be entered? We're going to pick someone.
All right, everybody, here's the phrase that pays. Tweet at Arda and tweet at Wyshynski and tweet,
I want to snuggle with the Leafs. That is the phrase that you need to tweet at Arda and myself. You could hashtag it ESPN the drop. You could hashtag it NHL on ESPN. Do as you please. But the phrase that pays, I want to snuggle with the Leafs. And then either Arda or myself will reach out to you and send you snuggly Leafs gear.
Let's move on. Let's talk puck headlines. We have a lot to talk about here. Why don't we, since you're wearing the jacket already, why don't we start with Dateline the Garden State? The New Jersey Devils have completely owned the NHL. Just like you said, setting records. 13-game win streak. They lose their first game in 14 games, including 3 disallowed goals, by the way, in that game. And then they decide to start going on another heater. They've won 3 straight since. They're setting records. They tied the franchise record for most consecutive wins, for most wins in a calendar month with 13. What is going on with this team, Greg?
They're healthy. That's the biggest thing. Nico Hischier, Jack Hughes, and Dougie Hamilton only played like 27 games together last year. They're getting amazing goaltending from Vitek Vanacek when they need it. And the best thing about it, again, as an old school Devils fan who watched my team try to strangle the life out of the National Hockey League with the neutral zone trap, the most unfun thing that's ever happened to hockey besides melting ice. To see them now be the most exciting team in the National Hockey League is jarring, but they are. Like, to watch them play is to watch a team that plays with speed, plays with pace, rushes the puck, and then in the other direction is a bunch of little sneaky pickpockets like Jack Hughes who take the puck off your stick and then go back the other way for a scoring chance. They are an electrifying team right now, and you know, the Bruins may be the best team in the NHL, Arda, but I think the Devils are the most fun team in the NHL.
I have to concur with that. They are absolutely electric to watch. Jack Hughes, massive coming out party, as if he needed one. He's on pace to have a career year. Have his interviews changed? Is he getting more serious in his conversations publicly? It feels like something has changed from last season to this season.
Well, he's always had that kind of Gretzky-esque vapidity to him. But where I think the interviews have changed, Arda, is one, he just wants to get through them to go party with his boys in the back after victories. And 2, I felt really bad for Mac Laughlin the other night when it was clear that Jack didn't want to be on the ice talking. But 2, he's had enough of your BS, man. You're asking him these questions about what can the Devils do better. And Jack's like, hey, we're on a heater. Like, we're doing fine. Like, talk to us when we start losing games. Not when we're winning all these games in a row. And I love the honesty there from the kid.
Shout out to Matty Locks, by the way, one of the nicest broadcasters in the NHL. You mentioned the Boston Bruins. Next topic, Dateline. It says Jack Edwards here. I'd like to say Dateline Patrick Maroon because he had the best possible response to what happened. So Jack Edwards, obviously commentator for the Boston Bruins. They spent a good 30 to 45 seconds during the Bruins Lightning game talking about Patrick Maroon and his weight. Quote, listed at 238 pounds. That was day one of training camp, and I've got a feeling he's had a few more pizzas before then and now. Made a few more comments, and Patrick Maroon obviously saw this on social media, and he responded in the classiest way possible by tweeting, "In support of those struggling with mental health, bullying, and body image, I'm making a $2,000 donation in the name of Jack Edwards to Tampa Bay Thrives, a regional mental wellness coalition." That's about as classy a response as you can get.
Yeah, and what I like about this is that it's proactive, right? Like, it's really easy to kind of take a Jack Edwards thing that happens every few months in the NHL. He says something dumb, and then we all trash it and go clout searching by, going on Twitter and bemoaning what Jack Edwards said this time. It's a whole other thing to take what he said, flip it around, and create something proactive about it, especially around this time of year when we're all, we're on like giving to these charities after Thanksgiving and around the holidays. For Maroon to kind of take those comments that were, targeted at him and flip it around to help an organization in Tampa was a really, really clever thing and a really smart thing, and the way we should handle it when people say dumb things like Jack Edwards did.
Thumbs up to Patrick Maroon. The best thing that Jack Edwards said in that was that Pat Maroon was a 3-time Stanley Cup champion, which is what we should be highlighting in the first place when we watch Patrick Maroon play on the ice. Dateline playoff berths. For much of the year, Greg, non-playoff teams have led the divisions in the NHL. Look at teams like the Detroit Red Wings, Winnipeg Jets, Seattle Kraken that have been consistently in playoff positions. Which team of those three, focusing on them, are most likely to make the cut and actually play in the playoffs?
I'm going to say the Winnipeg Jets, and I had this one wrong. I think where I had it wrong was that I didn't realize that Connor Hellebuck was going to all of a sudden become like a .925 goalie again. Anytime you do that, your team's going to be in pretty good shape. But for Rick Bowness to go in there after coaching the Dallas Stars and put his foot down and make a statement by taking the captaincy off of Blake Wheeler, he challenged the veteran leadership group of that team to be better. I think it's paid off. And I think in Blake Wheeler's case, you got to give him some credit too. He's had a pretty good season after that happened in the offseason and has done really good, from what I understand, behind the scenes in helping the kids along on that team too. So, positive influence from Rick Bowness coming in and putting his foot down, and obviously good goaltending will cure all.
Question of the week. We always appreciate you sending us questions on social media, wherever you find us. This one comes from Paul. Very creative question. What Christmas carol would make the best goal song?
Okay, so I tried to keep it to traditional Christmas carols and not like Christmas songs.
Okay.
Because it's Christmas, baby, please come home, or anything from Mariah Carey would make a pretty good goal song. So I went with Sleigh Ride, the sort of instrumental. You could do it instrumental, you could do it with words, but I want that big band brassy, like kind of thing to be played after a goal would be pretty dope.
You're basically evoking Brass Bonanza with this, aren't you?
It's right. Oh my God. You're right. Subliminally, that's probably what it is.
Exactly where you went with that. I did not follow the assignment whatsoever. I pulled the Detroit Red Wings in the initial reverse retro and just went completely off board. I picked Trans-Siberian Orchestra just because it would be cool. Yeah, right? Like imagine like you score a goal, fans are cheering, goal horn, and then the Trans-Sib.
Hey, listen, man.
It's just like, it'd be like, yeah, everyone would be like extra jazzed about it.
We work for Disney. We're all about synergy. Chances are the Trans-Siberian Orchestra is probably playing in that arena within the next 2 weeks after that goal is scored. So it's all synergistic.
Thank you for joining us here on The Drop. We always have fun doing this show. You can find it every week on the NHL on ESPN YouTube, and you can also find games this weekend on NHL Power Play on ESPN Plus. Over 1,000 out-of-market games all season long. Also, a couple of exclusives, including the Nashville Predators facing the New York Islanders at UBS Arena. That is on ESPN Plus and Hulu. I'll be on Cut-Ins. Please watch the show. The Devils are on a heater. Definitely watch them as well. And I hear that UBS Arena has some fantastic Jumbotron content. So if you see anything awesome, please send it to us.